Clancy, senior writer for GreenBiz, here in Studio C with Lindsay James, the Vice President of Restorative Enterprise for Interface. And I have to ask, what is a restorative enterprise? I've never seen that title before.
You know, I might be the first Vice President of Restorative Enterprise, and we chose the title intentionally to be provocative, to begin to have a public dialogue around what is a restorative enterprise. Ray Anderson's original vision that he kicked off in 1994, so 20 years ago, was for us to create the world better with every yard of carpet that we make and sell, and to become a restorative enterprise.
So I know that you're a student of biomimicry, and part of what you're doing is applying that concept to an organization. So explain to me how that can work.
Well, it does work at that highest level in terms of vision and understanding how is nature restorative, and how can we fulfill in Ray Anderson's vision of becoming a restorative enterprise. And life creates conditions conducive to life. And looking at life's principles, which Dr. Dana Baumeister and Janine Benyus have really focused their work on in biomimicry, we can start to understand if we emulate those principles and how we are making and selling carpet, will that allow us to also create conditions conducive to life?
So is there a specific problem you were trying to solve? I mean, like, what made you have this epiphany that you had to kind of proceed down this path?
For me personally?
For the company.
For the company?
Yeah.
Well, it was beginning to understand that as a thought leader, you know, and as a leader in this movement, well, nature itself is not sustainable. Nature is restorative and it's resilient, and it's a combination of being restorative and resilient that creates this appearance of sustainability. And so looking at, as Ray used to say, what if everybody did it? Well, what if every company was sustainable? Would that be enough? Or should we actually be putting more back? And so that's what we're trying to explore here, is saying, you know, how do we start looking 10, 15, 20 years out at what it would mean for every action that we take to actually have a net positive benefit to our communities and to the planet.
So can you give me an example of how you're applying the concept?
Well, there's an example that came out of our co-innovation, our global co-innovation team, Miriam Turner and Nigel Stansfield, where they started a program called Networks, where they are working with the Zoological Society of London to collect fishing nets in the Philippines. And so they work with the villagers to collect fishing nets and send them to our supplier Aquafil, who is recycling those, or regenerating them in their words, into new carpet nylon. And so this is a great example of having a positive impact in terms of people. This is improving livelihoods, and actually it's not charity, it's actually providing a livelihood for these villagers in the Philippines, and also in terms of the ecological impacts of taking these fishing nets out. They're collecting them from damaged coral reefs, and so taking these fishing nets out of the coral reef system, and then it also makes economic sense as well, and that's always one of our criteria, is to have business.
So where are we going to see you try to apply this concept next?
Well, it's going to be, I mean, taking that concept is something that's easily replicable in other communities. Africa, for example, Latin America, we're looking at as well. But then it's also just asking that really big question and asking it with others. We do believe in co-innovation, so collecting input from other thought leaders and really anybody who has an idea around what could be next for restorative enterprise. I believe there's going to be a lot of interesting things around energy, and that's where we're focusing a lot of our efforts right now. But also at the personal level too. How can we be restorative for each individual? And I think that's where you'll begin to hear more also, looking at human capital and issues around that.
So lots of questions, that's what your job is.
Lots of questions. I don't have to have the answers, but we asking the right question.
Get the dialogue started.
Exactly.